Hello, and let's have a first look at PlayerUnknown's Prologue Go Way Back. Let's also call it PUBG from here forward. Actually, I've changed my mind on that. It sounds too much like PUBG. Prologue. So, it's a survival game. Driven by the Unreal Engine. Let's just read a little bit of splurge from Steam. Prologue Go Way Back, single-player open-world emergent game within the survival genre, with classic survival mechanics, machine learning driven terrain generation resulting in millions of possible maps, challenges the players to explore their limits and make fires like we are doing here. So you spawn into this cabin and there's various bits and bobs lying around on the tables, in the cupboards, in the drawers. I've played this before for a couple of hours, so I kind of know what's worth taking and what's not. It's just so nifty that you can actually turn the stove on and off. Great stuff. So I knew a little bit about what I was doing. Just wanted to get my temperature up. Temperature's in the top right there. The hotbar is a little bit weird. It's like it gives you extra slots for your inventory. It doesn't take up space in your inventory at all. So as I was saying, I have a bit of a heads up. I knew what was worth taking. Some cardboard to make a fire, fire lighter, compass, map. And off we go. Picking a waypoint, trying to go to the next point of interest where there's a cabin. You see, when I first played this, I kind of thought, well, what you've got to do is go from point of interest to point of interest because you can't survive outside. The weather's too harsh. And it turns out it actually isn't. You can pretty much make a fire anywhere, and it doesn't really... The weather doesn't seem to affect it. You might... I mean, I was actually purposely trying to get to sort of areas of shelter where you'd make a fire naturally if you was out in the elements and it was pissing it down, so... But you didn't actually need to. So anyway, back to our journey. I was kind of heading southwest, trying to get to one of the circles. I'm not quite sure how accurate they are. When I stumbled across one of these cabins. They're pretty much copy and paste across the map. They vary slightly in design, but you know, they get the same sort of goods inside. All seem to have a generator, and you can set the electric going and get your cooker going and the lights, what have you. They all seem to have a fire ready set. It's all pretty basic stuff. There is some very, very basic crafting as well. You can board the windows up, but I didn't really see the point. I always seem to just get here, light a fire, and just go around and loot all the stuff. You know, get all the goodies that were inside the drawers and the cupboards. Let's have a quick talk about what this is meant to be. Prologue's the first of 3 games. They're aiming to pave the way for the final project, which is called Artemis. They're procedurally generated maps. It's supposed to lead to no 2 playthroughs being the same. But that said, the demo that's out on Steam, it's just going to have the 3 maps. In its current form, the game is very early stages. And even if the map was to change every time you load it in, I find that the replayability is going to be very limited. No AI threats. You're left with 3 stats, just the temp, the food and the water to juggle to make progress. So I've pretty much been sat by the fire waiting for the storm to pass and waiting for it to become daytime. Time to travel out again from this cabin. This is our second cabin. I'd like to tell you where we're going, but it ends up me going completely the wrong way. But that doesn't matter. We're making progress. That's the main thing. Heading northwest apparently. Somehow I go northwest and end up by the river. To the south. Pretty much the only landmarks that are on the map are the rivers, unless you can work out gradients and such like from the map. I couldn't. That was beyond me. You have to be a little bit careful here. The mud slows your progress. It's the same with some of the real deep snow as well. So, and of course we've got a cooker in the middle of nowhere. So I had to go all the way around this, and we did find another cabin, but I shan't bother showing you that because it was pretty much the same as the other 2. And then I got brave and decided I'll travel at night time. The night time only lasts about 5 minutes, so it didn't seem like quite such a brave thing to do. So food is abundant, both in the cabins and on the grounds. And I found this carrot, and there's carrots everywhere. I ended up with absolutely loads of them. So I'll go to this cabin that's right next to the carrots. And also, whilst doing my looting process, stealing all the goods, I found a huge, great big backpack that allowed me to carry even more carrots. It does appear you can do some sort of cooking. I'm not really sure how I managed to do this, but basically I turned the stove on, put the pot on the hot bit and chucked some ingredients at it, and then looted the stuff out of the pot, and it went into my inventory magically as this little pot of goodness. What the strange thing is the net ingredients that I put in was exactly the same value as the cooked item that I took out. So maybe a little bit of work needs to be done. So when I left this cabin 3 or 4, I'm not sure, I picked up many carrots. More than I would think you would need, but as it turned out, I did need them. I needed them all. I don't mean to sound like I'm taking the piss out of this game, because I know it's very early access, but some of the things were a little bit strange. Next up along our travels, I found this little, this different type of cabin. But, look at all those carrots. But one thing it did have is a pair of hiking boots, and it was time for me to change my Converse trainers. Do you know, I once went up Mount Helvellyn in a pair of Converse trainers and a packet of crisps. I wasn't wearing the packet of crisps, but that's all I took up, and I made it up to the top and back down again. But these Converse are not good enough for where we're going, so I need to get these hiking boots, which have got much better insulation and waterproof nature. Look at waterproof nature. Alright, let's continue on our journey with our carrots. Guided by the carrot, I ended up at this particular junction. Now, it was the only real time that I could pinpoint where I was on the map. We've got an east to west running river with a bit running off it to the north, and that puts us just about there. It also meant that I had to cross this river, and it was just about to get dark, so it was time to get one of those fires going. And as I say, you just need to go at it for a little bit with a lighter. You don't need the cardboard or anything, just get some kindling, and it will light the fire up, no problem. I was getting a bit cold, and you have to keep your eye on those stats, because if they go to 0, you're just dead. So, sat around a campfire with my torch out, watching for anyone that might come along. Of course, no one will come along. And it left me with only one thing to do: eat carrots and organise my carrot inventory until we felt warm enough and comfortable enough to jump in the river. I won't deny that I thought I was dead. I thought I was done for. But no, I'd just dropped to the bottom of the river as if there was no water there. So, we just had to swim back to the top. And once at the top, we had to try and find a place to get out the other side. This was a little bit difficult. I would imagine they're going to bring vaulting so you can vault up and out onto the rocks. And because the collision or whatever was not too great, it did take me quite a while. That wasn't the first attempt, I can tell you. So all we need to do from here is hit the main river, which is to the west, and then follow the main river north until it's split, and then we could cross the main river and get across to where we needed to be to get to the tower for escaping. You can see these little micro stutters. They're just part of the game not being optimized at the moment. This is quite a beast of a machine, and it should cope with this absolutely fine, but I don't know if it's because it's loaded in parts of the map or what, because the map is actually quite big. It doesn't feel like you look at the small map in your hand and you think you can get to the next place really quickly, but it's actually reasonably big. But the swimming here, I'm trying to find, because of the last experience of getting out of the water and onto the shore, I'm trying to find a bit where I can go that might allow me access a lot easier, but oh, that was reasonably painless. Now once you get out, you do have a negative effect from the water, but not really. I mean, considering the climate that we're supposed to be in here, very changeable, you think that water would be absolutely ice cold and you would be dead within about 10 minutes of entering the water, maybe sooner. But it doesn't seem to be any of those negative effects. Again, something that will probably be worked upon. I'm working out here where I've got to go. I've got to get to the go here section. I know it's going to be on top of a very steep mountain, and I know I might struggle to to find a path up into the mountain. It's not gonna be a given. Be very careful with these. It's one of the few things that can kill you. If you suddenly start sliding and you don't stop and hit a tree, then you're done for. The weather certainly took a turn for the worse as we made our way towards the extract point. Now, if you want to know, I went all the way up to north and followed the river through to the south to get into the correct area. And this is me eating my last carrots. You see how many carrots I had? I wouldn't have made it without these carrots. I really wouldn't. Just through this clearing, I was starting to give up hope, but there it is, the radio tower, looking like Green Mountain on DayZ. I didn't know if I was going to make it in time, so I was time limited as what I could do here. I was getting a bit ahead of myself, thinking I could let this flare off. I was really quite excited for finding that. I felt like it was an achievement. And like I said earlier, I'm not sure about replayability of this, because it doesn't make me want to go back and do it again. Just completing it once is enough for me. And therein lies the problem, I think, with this game. It needs more depth. I don't really know what this game's aiming for. What's its target audience? I don't play this sort of survival games, and I found it reasonably easy after 2 hours to just survive. So it needs a lot of work to make it a challenge for those that play this sort of game more regularly. Maybe that'll come. I'd like to see something like a multiplayer version of this with PvP and more AI threat. I think that'd be great.